Hi guys, welcome to Gun.Plapla, and this is our YouTube debut. Today we're here to review the Master Grade Sazabi Ver.Ka, but of course it is with a twist. I'm sure you have seen tens of YouTube reviews for this particular kit. However, of course, we bring you something different today. So, let's get started. Yeah. So this is the Master Grade Sazabi Ver.Ka with Dot Factory or Dian Chang metal frame parts. So before we head into the review, let's have some initial notes. This mobile suit is from the movie Char's Counterattack, and it is of course piloted, or rather it was piloted by Char Aznavour. And now I would just like to say that my modeling experience or plastic modeling experience is, I would say, intermediate. So, yeah, so please bear with that. I'm not an expert on this, but it is a developing hobby. Of course, this kit, as you saw from the box earlier, is an original Bandai kit. So this is not from any third-party source. I mean, the plastic is not from a third-party source. That is original Bandai. And I built this thing on and off for a period of around 2 weeks, something like that. And I got into this review because there wasn't a lot of reviews for the Dian Chang metal frame parts in conjunction with this kit here. So with that, I guess let's get started. Well, all right then. So let us start with the review, and let's start this review by talking about the build. Um, well, the instructions for this build, the one that came with the metal frame parts, were actually fairly easy to follow. They were clear enough. The kit also includes plastic parts that fit well with the metal frame, and in some areas, with some light modification, it also fit well with the original Bandai plastic parts. Now, it is actually in the snapping together of that metal frame where I encountered a bit of difficulty. The metal frame being, well, made of metal, fit extra tight together, and the pegs and the holes do not flex, so snapping them together is, well, it was quite a workout. I mean, sore hands, sweating, and almost rage quitting type of difficult. This is, thankfully, this is offset by the quickness of the frame build. So that is the only issue I encountered. It's the actual physical snapping together of the metal frame parts. There are pre-built elements in this metal frame that save a lot of time as compared to building plastic parts. Of course, with plastic parts, you have to cut them off the runners, you have to fix the knobs, you have to sand them off. Of course, depending on the modeler, some of them would choose to paint those parts, and of course that takes a bit of time. And with this metal frame, well, I only did a bit of light painting in some parts, but snapping them together, while physically difficult, was actually pretty quick. But of course, then again, putting those plastic parts together, that sanding process, all those things are part of the hobby. And well, at least I'm telling you right now that with this metal frame, that part of the hobby will not be so prominent in this case. Then the metal frame also includes metal pistons finished in a high gloss chrome, adding further to the shiny metal aesthetic. Let me just show you that here on camera. Let's just move these shoulder parts for you to see. And here are some of those piston parts that I was talking about. So these are finished in shiny chrome, and definitely adds a lot to the metal aesthetic of the metal frame. It's always good to have real metal parts showing through the frame. Now, of course, there are some there, and then there are also some here by the ankles. So yeah, those work. And also here inside the knee, if I could bend that in order to show you. Just move that here and bend. Yeah, I'm not really sure if you could see that, but yeah, just take my word for it. There are metal pistons inside that knee. Yeah. Okay. Now let's get you back to a standing pose. There we go. Oops. Ankles. All right. There we go. There are also parts in this metal frame that need to be screwed together. Now, thankfully, the included screws are durable enough, so they don't strip and they don't break. Well, at least in my experience, they don't strip or break. But I would still advise that extra care be taken when screwing those in. I mean, you can never go wrong with a little bit of caution. So just to be safe, screw them gently and screw them in a deliberate manner, I would say. Yeah, and that's what she said. Now, when it comes to the aesthetics, the metal frame looks as real metal should. It is finished in a semi-gloss gunmetal gray paint. For sure, can you see that? Does it show that in camera? Yeah. Those here in the torso, those are the gunmetal metal frame. It also shows right here in the elbows. There, unmistakable glint of real metal, and of course here by the knees, and also down here by the ankles. So those are the areas where the here by the neck area, that what do you call it, collar. By Sazabi's collar, those are metal parts that poke through. Now, the finish is not, I would say it's not perfect. Like, there are imperfections in the finish. But to me, that adds a bit of like a weathered effect, aesthetic. Actually, well, I'm quite digging that look, actually, because, well, of course, this is a machine of war, and a bit of weathering, especially in those frame parts, those parts that actually move and grind together. It's nice to see a bit of weathering in those parts. So I'm liking that very much. Now, the design of the Sazabi does not really allow for a lot of the metal frame to shine through, but that being said, I don't really think that it takes away from the metal aesthetic. I say that that bit of subtlety adds realism, with just parts of the metal frame poking through in the elbows, the knees, some parts of the torso. Now, where this metal frame, I would say, struggles a bit is with seam lines. And actually, well, there's only just one area, or rather two areas, where those seam lines in the metal frame are very, very, very much apparent. And that is here on its elbows. Yep. As you can see, there is a very prominent and wide gap there in between these two plates, in between these two metal plates, that really, well, once you see it there, I mean, you cannot unsee. So that's going to bug some people. Of course, with if you went with the plastic parts, this is actually an easy fix. You just have to cement these two parts together, sand that seam line down, and I think that's it. I mean, that's how you erase, quote unquote, a seam line on a plastic kit. However, with this metal part, that's a bit more of a complicated process, and not all plastic modders have the necessary tools in order for you to erase that, or rather cover up that seam. I'm not really good with, well, actually, I have no idea when it comes to metal working, but if you would ask me, I would guess that you will have to sand the gunmetal finish off, maybe weld that part together, and then sand it back down to hide those weld marks, and then somehow recreate that gunmetal finish so it wouldn't clash with the rest of the kit. So, uh, just talking about it right now, I mean, I could already tell that that is quite the tedious process back there. Now, what else are the negatives when it comes to the aesthetics? Yeah. Some of, well, the metal frame does not fit one for one with the plastic armor parts of Bandai. So, yeah, that's just, yeah. I'm hoping that you can see it right there. There is actually a seam. Wait. It's actually more prominent on the other side. Yeah. Let's just see. Let's just have that focus. All right. There is there's a seam line there that just wouldn't stay shut. So what I had to do was just press these parts as hard as I can together, and then I glue, and then I put liquid cement on that, or plastic cement on that rather, so that it would seal shut. And thankfully, it's in the back, so you wouldn't really, or rather, I wouldn't really be able to see that all the time. So that's a bit of an easy fix, although it's quite sad that I do have to fix it that way. You were hoping that for the price of the metal frame, it would fit perfectly with the plastic parts. But then again, of course, this is a third party, so this is a third party metal frame. So I guess you could expect that even at that price, some of these parts would not fit together. Your mileage might vary with this. I mean, for me, it was this, and parts of how do I say this? I guess you could call it the traps over here. But like I said, your mileage might vary. You might not have those problems, or you might have problems in other areas of the kit. But for me, it's those. It is those areas. And here, actually, since these two parts I had finished in high gloss finish, I could not, or rather, I chose not to put liquid, rather plastic cement on those gaps because, well, it would ruin the finish, and I think it is much less apparent, or it's much less noticeable if you just leave it like a gap. If you just leave that gap instead of trying to work and fix that. So unfortunately, those are some of the pitfalls when it comes to the aesthetics of the metal frame in conjunction with the original Bandai plastic parts. So seam lines on the elbows, and some gaps in the armor due to fitting issues. So I guess you have to be aware of that and prepare accordingly. I guess if you're looking to get this mod. Now, what else? Yeah. Overall, I think the metal frame contributes a lot of realism, I would say, to the kit, to this rendition of the Sazabi, because this is, of course, a machine of war. So you would want, for a model of a machine of war, you would want a bit of actual heavy-duty metal complementing the aesthetic. And of course, you can replicate that in plastic. It would involve a lot of painting and a bit of modifications. But here, it actually is metal. And of course, it aside from the aesthetic, it also contributes when it comes to, the sturdiness of it. I mean, this is just sturdy. It doesn't, with the plastic joints, it would be just flopping around in places. But here, there's nothing. It just doesn't. It's quite stable and sturdy as a machine of war should be. Now, so all right then, heading over to articulation and posability. Well, articulation and posability are the issues most people looking to get the metal frame are trying to fix with the original Bandai plastic kit. The hip joints of the original frame are notorious for being unable to support the weight of the entire leg assembly. I'm happy to report that here with the metal frame does solve this issue. The metal frame is composed of ratchet joints in key areas of the knees, the hips, and up there in the shoulders. So the kit can now hold a pose wherein you raise the legs. So just to demonstrate it here to you right now. So I mean, if this were the like the Bandai model, wait, just it's difficult to get a hold of this. It's so heavy. All right, now with the original Bandai plastic kit, whenever you hold the leg up like that, and you you raise the leg, what would happen is that when you let go, it would just simply droop down because of its own weight. Okay, so here right now, I guess the ratchet joint in the hip is doing a good job holding that leg up. So no, I think that solves the issue. Okay, let's just go all the way down. Okay, and then raise that all the way up, and it keeps that pose. Now, what about pulling off some kicks? Let me just raise that skirt there so it won't get in the way. And raising the leg, unmistakable click of ratchet joints, and there you go. Just get my hand out of the way. There. See? So this thing can actually pull off a pose where you raise the legs, and also again, as I mentioned earlier, ratchet joints in the knees, and also although it doesn't click that it doesn't click audibly in the shoulders, but there are ratchet joints there and holds up the arm pretty well. There we go. And putting that back down. There we go. Whoops. There. Whoops. Sorry. Well, these parts still tend to fall off even with the metal frame, although that granted, I mean, these pegs here where the skirts attach are well, it came with the metal frame, so I guess that the metal frame does not solve that, although these parts are just plastic. Let me just get that back in. Okay, there we go. Now, while the metal frame did solve some issues, it also retained some of the issues of the original design. See, the metal frame closely mimics the design of the plastic frame, the original plastic frame. So what does that mean? It means that the limitations, the inherent limitations in the design of the plastic frame is unfortunately carried over to the metal frame. So what that means is with the plastic frame, you cannot really put the Sazabi in the Sazabi in a wide wide leg stance, and I think this is as much as this frame would like to go, and that's it. See, nothing more. It can go as wide as that, but it will definitely not be able to pull off the splits. So that's as wide as it goes. Yeah. Okay. Just, there we go. So some of the inherent, well, rather, most of the inherent limitations of the plastic frame is carried over to the metal frame, which I think is a missed opportunity. I mean, I'm not really, well, of course, I'm not a manufacturer here, but how difficult is it really to re-engineer those sections of the metal frame so that the kit can actually pull off uh, um, a wider stance pose. Yeah, well, now, like we said earlier, the metal frame did solve some issues. It retained some of the issues. But unfortunately here, it also makes some of the issues worse. Now, the all original plastic kit already had weight issues. I mean, the original plastic kit simply was just heavy. But, as expected, of course, with the metal frame, that issue has been exacerbated. So this is much heavier than the all original plastic kit. I mean, of course, I don't have a very accurate or precise weighing scale over here, but I did use a bathroom scale, and it comes around to around a kilogram or 2.2 pounds, give or take, something like that. And I mean, that's not just the kit. I mean, that's with all of it, with the shield, with the guns, with the effect parts. It comes to around a kilo or 2.2 pounds, so it is quite heavy. Now, even assuming you could get an action-based stand that is tall enough to actually raise the Sazabi off the ground, I mean, this really is a big kit. So it's not really easy to get an action base that is tall enough. Even if you could get that, that action base might not be able to keep the Sazabi up for long. I mean, here with this metal frame, I don't think that action base would be able to keep the kit up for long. When I say aerial pose, I mean full aerial pose, meaning that the legs are actually up and in the air, and the only thing supporting the weight of the kit would be the action base. That would be my definition of a full aerial pose. And unfortunately, I don't think there is a stand that could accommodate that. And even with modification, okay, let's say that you have a stand custom built in order to take the weight of the Sazabi. The problem here is that additionally, the hard point to which the action base would attach to, that would be a hard point in there at the back. The hard point where the stand does attach to is part of the original plastic frame. So the metal frame did not modify that. And since it is part of the original Bandai plastic frame, it was only designed to carry the weight of the all original plastic kit. It of course did not take into account that a third party would ever produce a metal frame for this guy. So it does not account for that weight. So it is not designed to carry that much load, and will, well, of course, we don't know for sure. I don't know for sure because I haven't tested it, but it's fair to expect that that part will fail in the future. And if that part fails in the future, and this is hanging on your shelf, or if you place it somewhere high, I mean, whatever this thing drops onto will definitely feel how heavy this thing is. So for me, I mean, well, my recommendation is just don't try to pull off aerial poses with this thing on a stand. So it's just not possible, I guess, or I wouldn't really advise to do that. Now, what are the, well, I guess that's it for the metal frame. What other mods did I do here? So I'm not really sure if this comes across well on camera, but this is I worked on a multi texture finish for this kit. So the darker red parts, those are these parts here, up here in the torso, on the shoulders, side skirts, legs. I had those in a glossy finish. The red parts, which are these, the sides of the side skirts, those are in matte. And the lighter red parts I had finished in semi-gloss. I'm not really sure if that comes across on camera, but at least in person, well, I'm pretty satisfied with the look uh, that I achieved here. And of course, yeah, but yeah, reaching for it really is difficult, especially from behind the camera. All right, there. Another modification, or rather addition that I made is, of course, these. How do I call these? I guess let's just call it high definition gas tanks at its back. So these I sourced from Shopee also. It came actually. It was a 3D print. These are 3D printed parts. It comes in a shade of gray. So what I did was just paint it white, and then hand painted some of the parts in order to achieve this look. That metal looking part there, the one I painted in blue, that came in just stainless steel. So I had to paint that to achieve that blue. Yeah, it's a bit heavy. I mean, this part, this one's okay. It holds its pose, but this one, as you can see, is drooping ever so slowly back down whenever you raise it. So I mean that's just an easy modification. The peg connecting that is not in metal, and the hole where you connect this to is still the original plastic part. So I guess just thicken up that peg, and well, I'm going to thicken up that peg, and hopefully this holds. Then, of course, as you can see here, I did a bit of minor painting on some parts. The parts of those pistons I painted in red, although here it chipped quite badly. Going on, yeah, going back to the front of the kit. Yeah, all right, there we go. Come on, there. Yeah, I also painted some of the parts, and this part specifically. The Bandai decals does not include this what do you call it, Char Aznable crest, or well, I've read and read it that this actually stands for, this is more like a CD instead of a CA, right? So maybe this stands for Casval Daikon, which is of course his name. Well, spoiler. So that is the pilot's real name, Casval Daikon. So maybe that's what it stands for. Or it could be just a stylized C and a stylized A. This sticker are Delphi metal sticker decals. Actually, this one is a spare from the decals I bought for the real grade Sazabi, which I have at the back here. So that's where that's from. The original Bandai decals included just a small shield with well, it does include this emblem, but it's barely visible. So I had, just for the sake of being faithful to the anime, I had to take this and put it there. All right. So what else? Ah, yeah. Going back here, those red decals on the tank, those are from my Double Zeta Ver.Ka. So I got those decals from there. And what else? Oh, I guess that's it for this kit. So, all right then, let's go on ahead and have our final thoughts and decide who this metal frame for the MG Sazabi Ver.Ka is for. So, well, I think overall, this Dian Chang metal frame is a good buy. It definitely improves on the look of the kit, makes it look a little bit more realistic, a little bit more premium, of course, with the metal parts. It solves some of the more serious articulation issues. That's why you have it in a bit of a dynamic pose here, because it number one, it can definitely stand because of the weight, and number two, those joints are going to stay like that. It won't slide down. The legs are not going to plop open. So I think with that alone, I think this metal frame part is worth it for me. And of course, add all of that, and you have overall a cooler display for your shelf instead of just the vanilla Bandai plastic kit. But I would like to caution everybody thinking of getting this and trying to put the MG Sazabi Ver.Ka with the metal frame on an aerial pose. I just simply would not recommend that. I mean, the weight of the kit and of course the issues I mentioned with the hard point at the back, that is just a recipe for disaster. I mean, if this thing falls on your feet or on your kid or on your pet, well, that's definitely going to hurt. So at least Gun.Plapla's recommendation, if you're planning on putting it on an aerial pose, don't. Okay? So, who is this kit for? I think this kit is, or rather, yeah, this kit is for collectors looking to still have the MG Sazabi on a grounded pose, but just with a bit of more dynamism. So definitely, now that we have the metal frame there, it can definitely pull a bit more of a dynamic pose, as you can see right here, having this MG Sazabi pose like this in my table. So I think that is this thing is best for those guys, and of course, definitely detailers. I think the MG Sazabi is, or rather, the Dian Chang metal frame parts um, lends a lot of customizability for detailers. So I think to add a little more metal parts. I know that there are kits where you can replace the thrusters here with actual metal. Now, that would have been an issue. That would have exacerbated the weight issue with the plastic build. But here, I think, although still don't quote me on this, but here I think that with this metal frame, you could, I think it would be able to hold the MG Sazabi with those metal thruster parts. So I think that's also a win for detailers. Now, let's talk about pricing. Now, this kit, well, we all know how much this Master Grade Sazabi Ver.Ka is. I think the original Bandai, I got this original Bandai plastic model for around 4,500. That's the listed price, but of course it was discounted from Shopee. Shopee baka naman. So it costs around that much. That's 4,500 pesos. Let's say around 80, $90, something like that. And then add to that the cost of the Dian Chang metal frame parts. This one came from a seller, Kalili. This costs around 2,800 pesos. I think you can source it for much cheaper with other sellers, but I just trust those guys. So that is where this came from, 2,800. So that's around $60. So that's $90 plus $60. That's $150. Or for our friends, of course, for our countrymen here in the Philippines, that is around How much is that? 4, 5, around, let's say 8,000, something like that. With the discounts, hopefully cheaper. And for that much money, you could get a basic perfect grade. So I mean, you have to make a deliberate decision here if you want this, or would you rather take a perfect grade? Well, for me, I think I like this better, but that's actually a good decision point for other people looking to get this. So you could have this or a perfect grade. So you have to make that choice. With that, I would like to thank everybody for watching our short video here. And I would just like to give special thanks to AJ Torno. He is my friend who designed the logo for this new channel. Thank you, bro. And don't worry, I'll give you your longganisa, okay, when we meet again. So with that, thank you very much. This is Gun.Plapla signing off.